apply that heat shield perfectly to the rocket with no mistakes. There's a reason that no one solved this before. It's a very difficult problem.
Elon Musk called the heat shield problem solved. SpaceX built 18,000 tiles, automated the maintenance, and redesigned the whole system from scratch. And honestly, the world believed him. But while everyone was watching Starship, NASA was quietly backing a spaceplane with a completely different answer. A smarter answer. So did NASA's spaceplane just prove Elon Musk wrong? How heat shields almost killed NASA. If you want to understand why any of this matters, you have to go back to the Space Shuttle. Not to celebrate it, to learn from it. NASA sold the shuttle as the airline to space. Reusable, affordable, fly it, land it, clean it up, fly it again. That was the pitch. What actually happened was very different. The shuttle carried 24,000 tiles on its belly, and nearly every single one of them was a different shape, a different size, a different curvature. Engineers custom-fitted each tile individually, down to the millimeter. That sounds impressive. It was also a logistical disaster. Each tile cost over $1,000 just for the material, before labor, before installation, before testing, and tile work alone required about 2 full man-years of labor for every single flight. Dozens of tiles got replaced after each mission. Then there was the waterproofing process. After every flight, workers put on full hazmat suits and spent nearly 5 days resealing those porous tiles by hand. 5 days. Every single time, just for waterproofing. And the turnaround time NASA promised? Weeks. The reality? Months. Sometimes over a year. Shuttle launches averaged about $1.5 billion each when you include the full program costs. NASA was spending roughly $1 billion per year just on operations. And a huge chunk of that went straight to the heat shield. The tiles were lightweight and heat-resistant. But they were incredibly fragile. So brittle that engineers had to install cushioning pads underneath just to handle the normal structural flexing of the vehicle. One missing tile, engineers feared, could trigger a cascading failure across the whole shield. And because the shuttle was mounted beside a foam-covered external tank during ascent, debris had a direct path to those tiles. That specific vulnerability contributed to the loss of Columbia in 2003. 7 astronauts. Gone. The shuttle flew 135 missions over 30 years. It worked. But it worked on razor-thin margins, with delicate materials, and a maintenance model that was completely incompatible with fast, unaffordable reuse. That is the wound that every engineer building the next generation of spacecraft carried with them. And that wound is exactly what set the stage for 2 very different solutions. How SpaceX reinvented heat shields. SpaceX looked at the shuttle's heat shield mess and decided the core problem was customization. Every shuttle tile was unique. That meant custom manufacturing for every single piece, custom orders for every replacement, human hands for every repair. If one tile broke, you waited for a craftsman to build you another one from scratch. Running an airline requires speed and scale. The shuttle demanded the patience of a bespoke tailor working in space. So SpaceX did the opposite. Starship's tiles are uniform. Most of them share the same size, the same thickness, the same hexagonal shape. It covers the entire windward side of the vehicle with around 18,000 of them. Yes, that adds some mass. Yes, it is not as geometrically precise as the shuttle. But what you get in return is enormous. Instead of thousands of unique custom parts, you get mass production. If a tile breaks, you grab another one exactly like it off the shelf and put it in. No stockpiling. Pure, shelf-ready replacements. Instant turnaround. SpaceX also tackled the waterproofing problem. Forget the hazmat suits and 5-day processes. Starship uses silane-based sprays applied by robotic systems, targeted inspections, automated sealing. The goal is to compress that maintenance window from days to hours, and the tile chemistry got an upgrade too. SpaceX modified the black glass coating with molybdenum disilicide. That improves thermal shock resistance, which matters a lot when you are going from cryogenic temperatures in orbit to plasma heating during re-entry in just a few minutes. The internal fiber structure is different as well. Starship uses larger diameter aluminum fibers instead of the Shuttle-era silica fibers. That adds a little weight and thermal conductivity, but it also gives the tiles significantly greater mechanical strength. See, then SpaceX added something the Shuttle never had: a backup layer. Under every hexagonal tile sits an ablative material, something close to a silicone-based felt or a pyron composite. If a tile cracks, loosens, or falls off entirely, that backup layer absorbs the heat before it can reach the stainless steel hull underneath. The Shuttle had no such safety net. Starship does, and the attachment system is completely different too. Shuttle tiles required a specialized adhesive that took 16 hours to cure. Then workers had to physically prop each tile up with a jack for another 16 hours while it set. Multiply that across thousands of tiles, and you can see exactly why turnaround times exploded. Starship uses a mechanical system instead. Each tile mounts onto a single metal stud, welded directly into the hull. A flexible felt blanket sits between the hull and the tile. A self-locking acorn nut holds everything in place and allows slight movement as the steel hull expands and contracts during heating. Instead of fighting thermal expansion, the system works with it. On top of all that, Starship's top-mounted design means there is no foam-covered tank sitting beside the vehicle during ascent. That specific debris pathway that contributed to Columbia simply does not exist on Starship. Musk called this the future of heat shields. And honestly, the engineering argument behind it is solid. But here is where it gets interesting: the space plane challenging SpaceX. While SpaceX was scaling up Starship's heat shield, Aerospace was quietly working on something very different. Meet Dreamchaser. For it is the world's only commercial spaceplane currently in development. And the moment you see it, you understand why people pay attention. It has wings. It launches on a rocket, reaches orbit, re-enters the atmosphere, generates lift, and glides to a horizontal runway landing. A clean landing on a conventional runway like an aircraft. It is the closest modern successor to the Shuttle in design. But where the Shuttle's heat shield became its greatest weakness, Dreamchaser is doing something smarter. Here is the number that stops people cold. Starship carries thousands of tiles. Dreamchaser carries a fraction of that, 9 times fewer, and that single difference changes everything. That is not a small difference. That is 9 times fewer tiles. Fewer tiles mean fewer failure points, fewer inspection cycles, a dramatically simpler maintenance footprint, and right away, that starts to challenge Musk's approach. But the real story is the materials. Aerospace partnered with Oak Ridge National Laboratory to completely rethink how thermal protection tiles are made. The Shuttle's manufacturing process involved pouring chemical slurries into molds and firing each tile individually in a furnace at around 2,350 degrees Celsius, one tile at a time. That process was slow, expensive, and nearly impossible to scale up for frequent flights. Aerospace replaced that entire process with scalable modern manufacturing techniques. The goal is to produce thousands of tiles efficiently and support high flight rates without creating the same bottleneck that killed Shuttle reusability. The first Dreamchaser vehicle, called Tenacity, already uses advanced silica-based tiles that are lighter and stronger than anything NASA had access to when the Shuttle was being designed in the 1970s. And for the second vehicle, Reverence, Aerospace is developing a proprietary silicon carbide and carbon fiber composite tile. This is where it gets genuinely exciting. The idea is to combine the structural strength of carbon fiber with the extreme high-temperature stability of ceramics. Those tiles are designed to withstand re-entry temperatures exceeding 3,099 degrees Fahrenheit. That is significantly higher performance than Shuttle-era silica tiles. And it closes in on the performance territory that Starship's tiles are designed for. For the hottest zones, the nose cap and wing leading edges, Dreamchaser uses a material called toughened unipiece, fibrous, reusable, oxidation-resistant ceramic. It is a toughened silica ceramic system built to handle extreme heating while offering far better impact resistance than the reinforced carbon-carbon panels that failed on Columbia. Engineers have put it through extensive plasma arc testing, which is the closest simulation to actual re-entry conditions you can get without actually flying. So Dreamchaser is not just building fewer tiles, it is building stronger tiles, from better materials, with faster manufacturing, and a bonding process designed from day one to avoid Shuttle-era headaches. The flaw in Starship's design. Now this is where the comparison becomes really telling. Now SpaceX built Starship's heat shield around one philosophy: standardization at scale. Thousands of uniform tiles, mass production, robotic waterproofing, ablative backup, and that philosophy makes complete sense for what Starship is designed to do. Starship re-enters from orbital velocity exceeding 27,000 kilometers per hour. It is designed for lunar missions, eventually Mars return trajectories. The heat loads involved in those re-entries make a standard orbital flight look mild. For that kind of punishment, maximum coverage across every centimeter of the windward surface is absolutely the right call. But Dreamchaser is built for something different entirely. Its mission is to fly 15 or more times, turn around in a matter of weeks, and carry cargo and crew to and from the space station reliably and affordably. Practical, sustainable. A workhorse operations in LEO. And for that mission, 18,000 tiles is a maintenance burden, not a strength. After every flight, every single tile demands inspection. Cracks, loosening, thermal damage. That is thousands of individual checkpoints before the vehicle can fly again. Even with automation, that compounds fast. Dreamchaser cuts that burden by roughly 90%. Faster inspections, simpler maintenance. And with Reverence's next-generation silicon carbide composite tiles, the system delivers serious thermal performance with a fraction of the operational complexity. Dreamchaser is suggesting the deeper insight is this: build fewer, stronger tiles from better materials matched to the mission you are actually flying, the one you are actually doing. That is a different philosophy. And for LEO operations, see, it is starting to look like the smarter one. Why Dreamchaser took so long? Dreamchaser was supposed to fly years ago. The original plan had the first orbital mission launching in late 2020. Here we are in 2026, and Tenacity is only just finishing its final pre-flight testing phase. The debut flight, STS Demo 1, is now targeted for late 2026. And on that first mission, it will not even dock with the space station. It has been restructured into a free flight demonstration. Fly the vehicle, prove it works, then move into operational missions after that. That looks like a struggling program on the surface. But the real story is more interesting than that. A winged lifting body spacecraft is dramatically more complex than a capsule. Dragon and Starliner are essentially blunt ballistic objects, and they hit the atmosphere like a rock and rely on their heat shields and parachutes to survive. Dreamchaser has to do everything a capsule does, and then generate aerodynamic lift, manage a complex heat distribution across a winged surface, and glide precisely to a runway landing. That is an entirely different category of engineering challenge. During testing at Kennedy Space Center, engineers discovered that the acoustic vibrations from the Vulcan Centaur rocket, combined with the aerodynamic flexing of Dreamchaser's lifting body structure, created tile bonding stresses higher than originally predicted. The bonding process had to be refined. Tests had to be repeated. Then Tenacity went to NASA's Neil Armstrong Test Facility for the full shake and bake campaign. First came acoustic testing. Engineers recreated the intense sound environment of a Vulcan launch. The data showed several internal avionics components were vulnerable to high-frequency vibration. The internal mounting brackets and shock absorbers had to be redesigned. Then came thermal vacuum testing for more than 5 weeks. But tenacity cycled between minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit and plus 250 degrees Fahrenheit inside a giant vacuum chamber. Those tests uncovered minor leaks in the thermal control loops, the plumbing that keeps onboard electronics from overheating. Engineers sealed the lines and repeated portions of the campaign before clearing the vehicle. None of those issues were catastrophic, but in aerospace, even small fixes require full verification and retesting. And that takes time. Every single time. NASA also raised its oversight standards significantly. Following the Starliner investigation, the agency now requires full insight into subcontractor-level data for all commercial spacecraft programs, including Dreamchaser. Every software update, every guidance tweak, every flight control patch goes through a deep audit by NASA's independent verification teams. Code that was once approved internally now needs extensive external review and documentation. Dreamchaser also has to run complete end-to-end simulations. The entire flight sequence from launch to orbit, to docking, to re-entry to runway landing. All in one continuous hardware-in-the-loop simulation. And because Dreamchaser is fully autonomous, NASA requires engineers to simulate hundreds of rare edge case failures to make sure the spacecraft can back away from the station automatically if anything goes wrong. Even a single thruster misfire. There is one more factor worth mentioning. Dreamchaser launches on ULA's Vulcan rocket. And in 2026, that rocket has a busy manifest focused on high-priority national security missions for the U.S. Space Force. So Dreamchaser has to wait for an open launch slot. In mid-2024, Vulcan's second flight actually launched with a dummy payload instead of Dreamchaser, simply because tenacity was not ready yet. All of this put together explains the delays, and none of it is a sign the program is failing. It is a sign of how seriously everyone involved is taking this vehicle. Did Dreamchaser prove Musk wrong? Here is the honest answer. Starship's heat shield is a remarkable engineering achievement for the missions it is designed to fly: lunar returns, Mars trajectories, extreme re-entry velocities. SpaceX's approach makes complete sense. Maximum coverage, ablative backup, mechanical attachment, robotic maintenance, all of it. Built for the hardest possible missions humanity has ever attempted. But Dreamchaser is making a different argument, and it is starting to land. The argument is this: the right heat shield is the one matched to the mission you are actually flying. For low Earth orbit, for cargo resupply, for crew transport to the station, you want serious thermal performance with a lean, fast, maintainable system. Dreamchaser delivers exactly that. Faster turnarounds, simpler inspections, a tile count that makes frequent reuse genuinely practical. And Reverence, the second Dreamchaser vehicle, is pushing that system toward Starship-level thermal performance with a fraction of the components. If Aerospace's manufacturing process scales the way they are planning, that combination, high-performance materials, leaner design, scalable production, could end up being the blueprint for what comes after Starship. So did Dreamchaser prove Musk wrong? Not that his solution is broken, but yes, that his solution is not the only answer. And for the most common missions humanity is actually flying right now, cargo, crew, LEO operations, it may not even be the best answer. That quiet little spaceplane, still in testing, still working toward its first flight, is making a very strong case that smarter materials and a leaner design can solve the heat shield problem just as well. You just need the right ones. Dreamchaser is rewriting what we thought we knew about heat shields and space reuse. If this got you thinking, hit like, share it with a space fan, and subscribe. Because this story is far from over.